All right, hey guys. So for my leader examples, I decided to use all football coaches. So some of them being coaches that I had growing up prior to when I came to App State, and others just being coaches, college football coaches that I've seen on TV. And the first example I used was my high school football coach. His name's Coach Boyd, and I thought he was a really good leader. And the first reason, which I think is the most important aspect to all leaders, is that he knew all of his players very well. Like he had really good personal relationships developed with them. Like he knew them outside of just knowing their names, what position they played, which I think is really important because it's kind of hard to, as a leader, to get your principles across and to motivate others if you don't know them very well, because then the people you're trying to motivate won't really understand why you're saying these things. But on top of that, he was very keen with his attention to detail, whether it was making sure guys are going to class. He would meet about a lot of players with their grades, showing effort in the weight room and in practice, showing up to the weight room and practice on time and applying these to the games and making sure that what we've practiced is being executed properly in the games. And it showed. My I only played 1 year high school football, but my 1 year we made the NC1A playoffs. And the next example I used was my I briefly played postgraduate football before I came to App State, which is like it's almost like going to JUCO in a sense, junior college. But his name's Coach Jarrett, and I thought he was an okay leader. I had two good examples and two bad examples of why. And starting with the good, he did give very good life lessons regarding discipline. The school I was at was a military academy, so obviously they were. I mean, discipline's a huge thing with not only showing effort because not only showing effort in the weight room, classroom, but waking up on time because they were in charge of that. It was like a boarding school. But in addition to that, the team finished the 9-3 record, and we had 8 players on our roster sign at D1 schools. But with the bad things, he didn't know his players very well. I mean, outside of your name, where you're from, your hometown, and what position you played or positions you played, he didn't really know much of anything about his players. So sometimes when he was discussing principles with us or disciplining us, it wouldn't really sink in well with us because we didn't really know. It's hard to put it best. It's hard to understand why someone wants to discipline you and help you if they don't know you very well. It almost felt like condescending at times. And then some of his key principles were conflicting. They weren't really clearly stated what our team goals were at times, and when they were, he wouldn't hold himself accountable to some of them. I mean, one example was he would always tell us to get to team meetings on time and get there early, at least like 5-10 minutes early, but he would regularly be late to these meetings, and he would never tell us why. No one would hold him accountable to that. But then to the other two coaches who I don't know, but just other examples I wanted to use. The first one was Mike Houston, who, if you don't know him, is the head football coach at East Carolina University. So I don't know him personally, but I know some friends who play on the ECU football team and obviously play under him. And my dad played at ECU a long time ago, so he knows like some connections within the university. So he hears what goes on in the football team. And from what I've heard, he's very clearly defined principles and goals. And the most important thing is he holds all his players and his staff members and himself, most importantly, accountable to all these goals so that they can be accomplished and they're not just out there in a sense. But it didn't show last year. The team finished with a 4-8 record and didn't play in a bowl game. And then the next leader that I said, which I didn't think was a very good one, was Joe Paterno. If you don't know him, he was the head football coach at Penn State for about a really long time, about 40 or 50 years, and he still holds the most wins amongst all FBS coaches all time with 409. But the reason I say he was a bad leader was that he was tied with the Jerry Sandusky sexual assault case, which Jerry Sandusky was one of his assistant coaches. And, obviously it's him not holding him accountable, which is bad, but just morally as a human being, the fact that he would allow something like that degrading to happen within his organization and not admit to it until it was discovered by the authorities just shows that he doesn't really hold you know, he doesn't treat people the same way. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of respect for some people, which really isn't a good thing. It's something you want out and something you want out of a leader.